It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
6:06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Thursday, and I swear to you, I can see the weekend from here.
Today's show is sponsored by Do-It-Yourself Pet Taxidermy Kit. You'll never have to say goodbye to Mr. Sprinkles again.
And you can pose him any way you want. Hey, at 8:06 this morning, if all goes well, Governor Gordon will be on the line. There's some things he wanted to talk to us about, which, of course, we're in the legislative session. Some bills have gone through already. There's been a few line item vetoes, stuff like that. So we'll talk about some of those things, if all goes well, about 8:06 this morning. Trigger warning.
Warning. This show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave. Just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move.
Let's see. Good old John having heads up. Oh, okay. Yeah, what you're talking about, Jim is online, of course. Actually, Jim's a little bit late. Usually I get notes from him before I even get on the air. Jim, that's the first thing I'm going to talk about. Okay, so yesterday, after I got a bunch of stuff done, I get home, and the first thing I find out is, Mitch McConnell, who's head of the Republican Party in the Senate, and is the longest-serving, not just Republican in the Senate, but longest-serving as majority or minority leader of his party. He's been around for a very long time. And that's one of the things, like the guy or not, don't care. That's one of the things that I can't stand is watching someone in government that long. But okay. He's decided he's going to, first off, step back from his leadership position with the Republican Party, currently now, which is minority leader. He has been majority leader. He's been president of the Senate, so he would step back. So who is in line to replace him? Well, there's quite a few. Among them, Senator John Barrasso, Wyoming, who's considered to be third in line. Those dudes in line are Senator John Thune, Republican, South Dakota, Senator Johnny Ernest, Republican, Iowa, and, of course, John Barrasso, Republican, Wyoming. So Thune is Republican whip. Ernest is state Republican committee chair. Barrasso is the Senate Republican conference chairman. Now, there are some other names that are floating around out there, but those are the top three right now. Senator Mike Lee, who's a Republican of Utah, said, he expects Corin or Thune to run for the position. He's not sure if Barrasso is even interested in trying to run for the position. Last thing Senator Barrasso said on this, he is focused right now on the November elections for president and control of both the House and the Senate. So that's what he wants to work on, and not so interested in Mitch McConnell's position. Now, I did send, I have his number, so I sent a text message to Senator Barrasso yesterday, and usually I hear back with him, within the day. He's a busy guy, so I hear back with him within the day. I didn't get anything yesterday from him at all. We'll see if I do today. Miss Mary put a note out to his office. You want to come on and talk about this? We'll see. It might not be the time that he wants to talk about it since it's just now developing. So Mitch McConnell is not out of the Senate yet. My understanding is he would run for re-election at the end of this year, but probably is deciding not to. So he'll step out of his leadership role, but stay as a senator for his state, which I believe is Kentucky. And then at the end of his term, I think he's done. He's out of there. So, all right. Now we just got to see exactly how this works. There was some talk as I watched the media talking about this yesterday. I watched some conversation about who Donald Trump would endorse and whether that mattered or not. And I don't know if that matters or not. I'm sure Trump will mention somebody that he would like, but I'm not sure if this matters to this process or not. And some people said, don't even pick someone until we get to after the presidential elections to find out who should be there. Well, that's okay. That's all behind the scenes politicking. We'll see how that works out. So just a quick history. See, Barrasso was sworn into the United States Senate way back in 2007. He first represented the people of Natrona County in the Wyoming Senate from 2023 to 2007. And then, of course, we lost our senator. And so we needed a replacement, and so his name was put up, and he got the job. In November 2018, Barrasso was reelected with 67% of the vote. And here's one of those love him or hate him kind of thing. It doesn't matter. When it comes time for reelection, Barrasso barely has to run a campaign. He normally gets 60-some% of the vote. Doesn't matter. And I've met a lot of people over the years that have wanted and tried running against him, but they never seem to get any traction, and he always gets 60-some% of the vote. So no matter what you think of him, that's what happens in the state of Wyoming. He was also a doctor, spent 24 years as an orthopedic surgeon, served as president of the Wyoming Medical Society, and named at one point Wyoming Physician of the Year. So, all right, there's where we are right now, and we just sit and wait at this point to find out what's going to happen. And I have no idea how long this process will take to find out. I am in the camp so far of those who say probably not going to be Barrasso. I know he's third in line and all of that. And I know every time you turn on the television and there's Mitch McConnell, Barrasso standing right next to him. So a lot of people would think, oh, he's going to go for this position. He may not actually be interested in it. I don't know. He is in a position, again, about third in line. So he's in a good position for it, which is why people are looking at him, wondering. But he has to step up. Barrasso has to step up and decide that he wants to run for this position to be majority leader. And so far, nobody really sees any sign that he wants to do that. Now, that's a lot of speculation at this point, so we'll just sit back and wait to see what happens with the whole thing. Morning, Rianne. Rianne, for danger, people like McConnell and Nancy Poo need to all retire, just finish their years out with their families. It's so sad to see Feinstein in her condition before passing. What got me was Feinstein was so bad. She was in a wheelchair. And I hate to say this, it's horrible to say, but it's true. She already looked like she was dead. No, she really did. And they would wheel her out for a vote because they needed her vote. And then they would say, well, Senator Feinstein votes this way because she wasn't able to really speak for herself. That's how bad this can get sometimes. So, yeah, there's a whole lot of people. Look, I know people who are in their 80s, and they are strong, vibrant. They think. They haven't lost their mental capabilities. I really do think it's a matter of a cognitive test. On that note, real quick, since I mentioned that, let's see, let's head on down because the president, here we go, is going in for his annual physical exam. White House, Biden gets annual physical exam, but no cognitive test. I told you about that was going to come up. Well, here we go. President Joe Biden, 81 years old, did not receive a cognitive test during his Wednesday annual physical examination. The revelation is the first time the White House has disclosed that Biden underwent a cognitive test. Oh, wait a second here. Let's see if I can play it. Because here again is the White House spokeswoman who just stands there and lies, and she's not even good at it. I haven't previewed this yet.
But President take a mental fitness or a cognitive test during his physical this morning?
So let me just say I did see Dr. O'Connor, and he stopped by my office earlier today after the president completed his physical this morning, as you all know. He was happy with how everything went, and as soon as he finishes completing the memo, it will be a robust, comprehensive memo. We will certainly share that with all of you, as we have done in the last 2 years. And look, you saw the president return to work. He took some of your questions not too long ago, and you saw he's going to continue to fight for the American people. In this particular instance, he was talking about fighting crime.
Not answering. Notice she's changing the subject here.
As it relates to, you were asking me about a cognitive test?
Yes, go for it.
As it relates to that, look, the president doesn't need a cognitive test. That is not my assessment. That is not my assessment. That is the assessment of the president's doctor. That is also the assessment of the neurologist, who has also made that assessment as well. And,
So, you get the idea. This went on and on like this. And I would play the rest of it, but I'm sure you're already about to throw up all over your breakfast.
And on the third day, God created the Remington bolt-action rifle so that man could fight the dinosaurs. Amen.
Got something? 888-97 Woods or chat with Glenn on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app from K2 Radio.
6:24 is the time to Wake Up Wyoming. All right, so again, the governor, if all goes well, will be on at 8:06 this morning to talk about the legislative process so far. One thing I'm going to ask him about is property tax reform, because, again, what I thought was an interesting bill, the one that would have eliminated most Wyoming property tax, is done. Unless somebody finds a way to revive it, it's pretty much just done. Okay, so what do we have left here? Well, all right. Story I have in front of me here, this is WyoFile. The Wyoming legislature has less than 2 weeks to decide how to address its non-budget priorities, residential property taxes. As home values have soared, the story says, for much of the state in recent years, so too have property taxes, and it explains all of that. Picking up where they left off last year, lawmakers filed 20 property tax relief bills this session. Just 7 remain in play, more than half of which would create various homeowner exemptions. Even though the herd has trimmed down considerably, concerns, the story says, have emerged that the legislators have yet to narrow their focus through this long session here. That's particularly true in the House, where lawmakers voted to send 6 property tax bills over to the Senate for deliberation this week. Now, they don't have much time. It's actually less than 2 weeks to get this done. There is some discussion, at least a little bit, about having a special session in order to get to this. We'll see what happens there. Special sessions are unusual, but they do happen. Quote, there's still a lot of bills alive at this point, according to Representatives Liv Storer, Democrat Jackson. And she said at a press event this week, if you add them all up, we would lose a lot of revenue. Now, here's where I always, and she says, for local government and schools, I keep saying, no, you won't. Here's what I mean by that. We had property taxes at a pretty good rate in Wyoming compared to other states. Then, as you know, because of people moving in and buying up the properties, you know the whole story, they started to artificially go way too high. So if we return them, these property taxes, to what they were before that bubble happened, then all your local governments here, the county government, should be fine. Or maybe they just got used to the idea of all of this extra money rolling in, and they look at it as a loss. Well, I don't look at putting it where the property taxes were before the bubble as a loss. I look at it more as a reset. And we will have plenty of money left over for schools and things like that, the money that we were dealing with before. So I never did buy that argument. The story says the amount of bills left on the table isn't just a concern for House Democrats. Here's a quote, as these different tax relief and reform bills start accumulating, It just seems that there's a great chance that some of them may conflict with in some way. That's according to Art Washart, a Republican at Casper. He said, could somebody potentially get relief from more than one of these bills at the same time? What would be the cumulative effect? In other words, they have a lot to discuss in this thing. So there's 7 bills. That's what I was wondering yesterday when we were talking about this. What is left? 7 bills left. Let's see if they're managing to get any of them through, and if any of them is actually going to provide the relief that people are asking for. A lot of the suggestions offer temporary relief and don't really solve the whole problem. Morning, ID John. ID John is over there in Grand Canyon. Did you know that someone, sir, who killed the property tax bill is employed by LCCC, who will get most of the income from property taxes? Can you say conflict of interest? No, okay. I would like that bill that would get rid of the property tax in lieu of a sales tax to have another chance. It won't happen this session, but I think it's the basis of it. I think is a really good idea. We just got to work out some details. But all right, there's where we're at right now. We'll see what they come up with, or if they have to have a special session to do this. Last time around, last year during the legislative session, a bunch of bills were offered up and nothing came of it. This time, I would like to see something good come of it. Just pick a good one and go with it. Coming up on 6:30, local news coming away right after local news update on your weather forecast. You and I get back into it again. Oh, Senate votes to defund University of Wyoming Diversity Office and Gender Studies. The House tried to. The Senate's doing it now. We'll talk about that next. Wake up, Wyoming.
对。
So many opinions, we had to build the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app to hold them all. Free download from AM 1030 K2 Radio.
.36 the time. All right. Here we go. This happened in the House of Representatives. Now it's happening in the Senate. It, I think, died in the House of Representatives, but the Senate is now taking a look at it. As I read this story, I have to be careful because it's coming from Wyoming public media. And you know how, of course, biased that story can be. Senate votes to defund University of Wyoming Diversity Office and Gender Studies courses. Now they add, but the fight is not over. Well, they have to put that bit of hope in there for those people who still want that thing. Right? So it reads, Wyoming Senate voted to defund gender studies at the University of Wyoming. If that amendment survives the state budgeting process, it could mean big changes for gender and women's studies at UW. Now, my thought here, first off, this is the way I think a college, before I read the rest of this, the way I think a college should run. So someone proposed the idea of gender and women's studies. Fine. Go ahead and set up the class. Now, does anybody show up to take the course? And if the answer is, well, yeah, but only 2 people showed up, that's not enough. See, students pay for the course, so you have to have enough students in there to make the course profitable. If not many people or nobody shows up, well, then shut it down. It's not doing anything. Nobody's really interested. We should not have to take money from the Wyoming taxpayer to pay for something like that. It should be able to support itself through students taking the course. But reading on. Immediately following the vote to defund gender studies, the Senate also voted to defund the UW's Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. All right. That's something I'm so happy to see this personally because I've been advocating for that for a long time. As you know, I'm a tightwad with the taxpayer money. University of Wyoming and other universities around the country went for a very long time without a DEI office. And the idea that, well, what do disenfranchised people do? Where do they go? That used to be handled just fine in other ways. We didn't need an office of it. And oftentimes these DEI offices are the cause of the problem. For example, one senator during the course of this discussion, I think it was Kill Case out of Natrona County, he argued that, look, he went to Harvard University. And at Harvard University, it was, at the time, a very good school to go to. But today, because of their DEI office, it's horrible there. The office created a problem where there wasn't one. So shut it down. All right, story says, in the coming days, lawmakers will have to hammer out the differences between the Senate's budget bill, which includes both amendments, and the House budget bill, which includes neither, because, like I said, this thing died in the House. All right. Then the Wyoming Public Media story goes into the rest of the article where they basically try to defend the idea of keeping these classes open and the offices open, which I look at and think, no, DEI is divisive. It does the opposite of what's intended to do. And I forget the number right now. I remember one time reading how much it cost for that office, and it was, if I'm remembering it right, it was like in the hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever, which is just not needed. So save that money, just cut it out. And let's go back and do what we did before. If anybody does run into any problem, if they feel like they're a marginalized person and they run into any kind of problem, there's people that they can go to like we used to solve those issues. We don't need a specific office for it. Just because all these other universities around America are doing it doesn't mean Wyoming needs to do it. This also gets back to, as far as the classes go, if not enough people are showing up to take the classes, then cut the classes. You shouldn't have to dump money into keeping these classes going if not a lot of people are showing up for it. So just cut it. I would also like to see UW just focus, and it's actually very good at this. I did have a gentleman who went to UW and works there call the program and point out that UW does offer some very good degrees in some subjects that will earn a good living for students. So it's a university worth going to. There's just a lot of extra garbage that I would like to see disappear. Also, last I looked, it was like $407 million that they wanted to send to the University of Wyoming. And as far as I'm concerned, that's something we need to get rid of. The University of Wyoming should be self-sufficient. They shouldn't have to get all of this money from the taxpayers to keep it running. It's not like a public school. People pay tuition to go there. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
You either buckle down and do your work or you'll end up at McDonald's.
We going to McDonald's if I don't do my work.
No.
Hard work. Hard work. That's what they say.
Listen to Glenn Woods anywhere you roam with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030, K2 Radio.
Hey now.
6:48's the time. Off we go to the icebox. Frank Gambino is waiting by. Okay, so happy Leap Day.
Today is Thursday.
That is day. Yeah, it's officially Leap Day. And, of course, I right away found a bunch of really bad Leap Day jokes, which only can be told once every 4 years.
Thank God.
Yeah, thank God. Okay. Trying to figure out why 2024 is longer than 2023 and nothing leaps to mind. See how bad these are?
Oh.
It's okay.
Is it going to be like this all day?
No. Just this once, and I think maybe there's one good joke in this lot. Since a leap year is 366 days, then is a year with 365 days a light year?
Okay.
I'm going to skip the next one because it's really that bad.
Okay.
Is a frog born on February 29th a leapfrog?
Yes.
Okay, see? All right. And don't jump to conclusions on Leap Day. Okay. Yo mama's so old, she lived through the first leap year. The first one.
Oh.
Yes. See, that's not bad.
Okay.
That's okay. That almost doesn't suck. Leap Day is the perfect day to listen to hip-hop.
And why would that be?
Hip-hop music, Leap Day, okay.
I don't think any day is good to listen to hip-hop.
My niece got married. My sister told me, she said they got married on today, 29th.
Did they really?
Yes, in which case I said, this is really brilliant because he only has to remember the anniversary.
Every 4 years, yeah.
That's great.
Although why would you get married on the 29th?
I don't know.
I mean, I don't get it.
Yeah, it saves money.
No. You got to pay no matter what.
Well, no, you don't have to. If you only celebrate your anniversary every 4 years, that saves a lot of flowers and going out to dinner.
Guess what?
Yeah.
That guy's going to pay for it either on the 28th or the 1st.
Okay, now try this. Make an appointment with a friend today to meet for the next leap year, which is 4 years from now, and I bet both of you forget it.
Yes.
I'll
give you that, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely going. So that's all I had, Frank.
All right, well, that's fine.
There were other leap day jokes, but they were so bad, I'm not even going to torture people like this, so I'm not even going to do it. So now we have those out of the way.
Now let's proceed with leap day.
Yes, in 4 years, I'll see if I remember to tell those jokes again, because you would have forgotten them. So would I.
All right. Leap Day is busy in high school sports. First of all, in basketball, the 4A East Regional Tournament begins in Sheridan this morning. Cheyenne Central comes in at 15-7. They'll play Thunder Basin at 9 a.m. Cheyenne South at 4-17 will take on Campbell County at 10:30. Cheyenne East at 21-2 will meet Natrona, and Natrona comes in at 5-16 at 3:30. And then Sheridan will play Laramie at 5:30, and Laramie comes in at 12-8. In the 4A West Regional, Kelly Walsh at 10-12 will meet Green River at 4:30. In the 3A East Girls Regional, Glen Rock at 5-12 will take on Torrington at 9 this morning. These regionals, by the way, are a double elimination. Now for the boys in the 4A East in Sheridan, Cheyenne Central plays at noon, and they're 20-2. They'll take on Campbell County. Natrona at 15-6 will take on Cheyenne East at 17-6 at 1:30 up in Sheridan. Sheridan, the home team, plays Cheyenne South, and South has not won a game yet. They're 0-21. That's at 6:30. And then at 8 p.m., Laramie at 17-3 will take on Thunder Basin. The 4A West Regional over in Green River, Kelly Walsh at 7-15 will play Star Valley at noon. And the 3A East Regional, Glen Rock at 6-11 will take on Rawlins at noon. The state 1A and 2A high school basketball tournament begins this morning at the Ford Center in Casper and Casper College. The 1A games today will be at the Ford Center. And on the girls' side, starting at 9 this morning, Burlington at 22-6 will take on Rock River at 9 a.m. Rock River is 15-6. Upton at 22-2. They are the defending state champions. Will meet Riverside at 10:30. Riverside is 13-13. Southeast at 17-7 will play Lusk, who comes in Little Snake River at 17-8 at 4:30. And then Cokeville, who is 21-1, will play Hewlett at 6 p.m. In the 1A boys bracket, also at the Ford Center, Saratoga at 14-10 plays Saratoga at 17-4 plays Southeast at 14-10 at noon. Cokeville comes in at 20-2, and they will play KC at 1:30 this afternoon. KC is 9-16. Farson at 14-9 will play Guernsey at 11-11. They'll be at 7:30, and then Upton at 24-1 will take on Batiti at 14-9. That will be at the late game at 9 p.m. The 2A games will be at Casper College. On the girls' side, Kemmerer at 10-13 will take on Pine Bluffs at 14-12. It'll be at 9 this morning. At 10:30, it'll be Tongue River against Rocky Mountain. Tongue River is 21-3. Rocky Mountain 16-10. At 4:30, Lingle Fort Laramie will take on Wind River, and Lingle Fort Laramie is 20-5. Wind River 16-9. Burns at 11-15 will take on Wyoming Indian at 6 p.m. At 22-2. On the 2A side, Tongue River and Burlington at noon. Wyoming Indian will take on Pine Bluffs at 1:30. Grable will meet Lusk at 7:30, and Wright will take on Kemmerer at 9 p.m. And that'll be the first round. The semifinal round will be tomorrow, and the championship matches will be on Saturday.
Wow, this is going to be a busy weekend.
Yeah,
here.
so all over the place.
Yeah,
plus state high school indoor track in Gillette. Okay. Plus in alpine skiing in Jackson. So there's
anybody going to be at home this weekend?
Probably not.
Probably not. No.
No.
Except maybe me. That's everybody else is going to be out doing something.
You just
supervise. No, wait. Bowling Saturday.
Yes.
We do have that. You going?
I may have to go to Gillette.
No, okay.
I want you to bowl with both hands.
That's probably the only way I know how to anymore.
Sweet.
Let's wake up, Wyoming. 7:06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Thursday. I swear I can see the weekend from here.
Today's show is sponsored by Do-It-Yourself Pet Taxidermy Kit. You'll never have to say goodbye to Mr. Sprinkles again.
I would even add some sound effects in there so Mr. Sprinkles will continue to meow when I walk into the room. So, okay. I just want to finish up a couple of things I was doing last hour because some of the comments I got off the Wake Up Wyoming app, which, by the way, you don't have to call the show to leave a comment. You can if you want at 888-97-WIZ. But these are people who are texting me using the Wake Up Wyoming app, which you can do too. Go to your app store, type in Wake Up Wyoming, download it. It's free. There's a lot of things it does. And then there's the chat option, which while I'm on the air, you just touch chat. Send me a text message, and I answer back. I type back, I talk back, either way. But it's just another way to communicate. So for those just joining, in Cheyenne, at first the House of Representatives tried passing a bill that would defund at the University of Wyoming the classes on gender studies and so on. But also, another part of the bill would defund the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, which I've been advocating for a long time. Just get rid of it. So that failed in the House, but the Senate picked it up, and it has moved through the Senate, which means it still has a chance. We would save a whole bunch of money and a lot of grief on this. Now, I've made the argument that as far as classes go, like gender studies classes, go ahead, start the class. Go ahead, set it up. But if not enough people sign up for the class, and that's tuition money, right, then it would operate at a loss, therefore close it down. Now, one of the answers I got on that is, Jim and Casper, I doubt the engineering department tuition pays for the College of Engineering, so even though I don't agree with the gender crap, we need to be careful when stating that they shouldn't support itself. It opens a can of worms. Now, I understand what you're saying, Jim. My thought, though, is that the university doesn't just make money through tuition. The university also makes money through sports, like football brings in a lot, but also between federal government and private sector. There are times that universities are used to do certain studies or participate in a program. NASA sometimes needs some young, brilliant people to help out on a space project, and so they'll hire a university to help out. So this is where the university makes extra money, and that includes the engineering department. So I think they can make up on that. The next part, I am right in Evansville, the DEI, Department of Equity and Inclusion, requires some federal grants to the UW and municipalities. Kill that and lose the grants. That's my big worry. And my answer is, well, then kill it. In my opinion, when I look at diversity, equity, and inclusion on university campi, and also in businesses around the country, it's not solving problems, it's creating those problems. These offices are toxic. This is what I see. So close them down, and I would close them down no matter what grant money. I hate it when government, federal government especially, federal government doesn't have the money to give out those grants. They really don't. So they show up offering all of this money, which they don't have. And you can get this money, but you got to do this. My answer would be, then I don't want the money because I'm not doing that. That's one of the ways that the federal government controls, waiving huge amounts of cash that they don't have, by the way, under our noses. And people look at that and they start to salivate. I'll do whatever. Just give me the money. Don't do that. Don't go down that road. All right, so that's where we are now. We'll see. It's gone through the Senate, what the House does it now that it has it, or we'll be getting it for a second time. Now, by the way, 8 o'clock, 8:06, if all goes well, Governor Gordon's going to be on the program. He wants just to get us up to date on the Wyoming session from his point of view. All right, so we'll talk to him for a little bit and just to kind of update us. All right, Wyoming home. As long as I'm talking about schools here, let's go to Wyoming homeschools. From Cowboy State Daily, Wyoming homeschool parents blast the plan to give money to private schools. A bill that would give many Wyoming parents money for their children to have private education receive pushback from homeschool parents at the Senate Education Committee on Wednesday. The parents' greatest concern for House Bill 166 is that it would set in motion a slippery slope of government regulations over homeschool education in Wyoming. So the Cheyenne homeschool parent Lizzie Sears argued that public money always equates to public education. There again, what they're worried about is you can have this money. Here's the money. But in order to have this money, you have to do the following. They're afraid of the strings attached. Quote, there are many who seek to put further stipulations and oversight on these funds, she said. I, for one, don't wish to enter such an agreement with the government. So in other words, homeschool parent Aaron, I cannot pronounce that last name. Let me see. How many letters? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's a name with 12 letters in it. I'm not even going to try. Said that although she would personally benefit from the bill, she opposes it because it would lead to future legislation that would harm the fabric of homeschool education. Quote, history tells us the more popular something becomes, the more regulated it gets too. So here it is, House Bill 166. Would not place any Wyoming homeschoolers under the state's purview if parents elected to not participate in education savings accounts. The way the proposed program works is that families with an income level of up to 400% of the federal poverty level can qualify for $1,000 to $5,000 to put toward the cost of private education. So my thought is, and it looks to me like this is what they're doing, but so you want to go ahead and do a private school thing, a homeschool thing, whatever you want to do. And so would you like to take the money or not? Yes, if you take the money, there's probably some strings attached, but if you don't, well, then not. Your call is the way I do it. My grandson learned to say applesauce last night, but it sounds like he's saying a bad word. I'm liking this kid more and more all the time. Could you record that and send it to me? I'd really like that. My sister, sister dear, since you homeschooled in Florida, was this the thing? I don't think you had any state funds for homeschooling, did you? It sounded to me like you just did it on your own funds. Is that the case? Okay, so homeschool parents can choose to participate in the program. If they do so, they have their children participate in annual state testing to make sure. So one of the arguments against the idea of homeschooling or private schooling is, well, there's got to be some kind of standard. And what the state is saying, yes, there has to be some kind of standard. How you teach your kid is your business, but you have to at least reach the following testing standards, however you decide to do that. So let me see. Quote, we need to find some means of testing so they don't fall behind or a year or two back from the public school system, said Ken Clausen, Republican of Gillette, the bill's sponsor. We need to make sure funds are being used in the right way. So, okay, this is the discussion going on right now, and I'm in favor of discussion because I am a big advocate of parental choice when it comes to where you're going to send your kids to school. Entirely up to you as to what kind. If you think the public school in your area is the way to go, go there. If you think that it's a lousy school and you want to do something else, do that too. That choice should always be up to the parents, not up to the state. Let's wake up, Wyoming.
For I am a sinner in the hands of an angry God. Bloody Mary, full of vodka, blessed are you among cocktails. Pray for me now and at the hour of my death, which I hope is soon. Amen.
Yep, there you have it. A new level of crazy. And you heard it here first. Honestly, he's just happy to be here. Catch Glenn Woods on Wake Up Wyoming. Weekdays at 6 on air, on Alexa, and on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
7:21 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. So, okay, my sister answered on homeschooling, which she did in Florida, because that's the debate here in Wyoming right now. Homeschoolers and private schoolers don't want to have to take any kind of money from the state because it comes with strings attached. And I seem to remember my sister homeschooling, but not taking any state money from Florida. She said, everything just kind of popped up here. Let me scroll back down. Here we go. Right, we had no funds, she says, but they're available, but then you get regulated. I never wanted to be part of a mandatory testing. Okay. Okay, Greg from Cheyenne. Glenn, I just about spit out my coffee when audio off the rep played with his concerns about the homeschoolers need to be tested to ensure that they are keeping up with public school kids. Yeah, I understand. Well, look, the reason that's funny to some people, and I understand this, is the reason people will take their kids out of public school is because the public schools aren't doing all that well. And homeschool kids, as my sister will attest to, tend to do a whole lot better than most public school kids. In fact, I remember a time when prestigious colleges and universities didn't even want to talk to homeschool kids because they thought, well, obviously these kids are substandard. Then they found out that homeschool kids do a lot better than public school kids, and so they start seeking them out. Changed everybody's tune on that. By the way, Greg, I'm glad you almost spit your coffee out. I wonder how many times this program has caused someone to have to change their shirt or wipe off the table, or maybe even living room furniture is all just destroyed because I said something on the air that made them spit coffee across the room. Sometimes I do it on purpose. Okay, Trump supporters. A couple of things here. The Supreme Court is still working on the case to see if Colorado, among was it Maine and other states, that taken him off the ballot because of the January 6th, what they're calling the insurrection. He engaged in insurrection. That's why they're taking him off the ballot. I still say, but no one has officially charged him with it that I'm aware of, and he hasn't had his day in court, where he gets to face his accusers. And until they do that, then they don't have a case. They shouldn't be able to take him off the ballot. Here's the latest. Wednesday, a judge in Crook County issued an order stating that the State Board of Elections shall remove Donald J. Trump from the ballot for the general elections. Now, Illinois is in it. General or primary election on 2024 or cause any votes to be cast for him to be suppressed. Oh, wow. Wait, let me read that again. This is the judge's order. Okay. The Board of Elections shall remove Donald J. Trump from the ballot for the general primary election on March 19, 2024, or cause any votes cast for him to be suppressed. Wow. Okay. It continues to go into the story, a lot of which you and I already know, so I don't need to continue to read the story because we already know all of what's going on here. We're waiting. What gets me, though, is even though the Supreme Court has fast-tracked this, it's still probably going to be a while before they come to a decision on it, and they need to hurry up. And that's not the only case that Trump is facing regarding elections in general. Not just about being on the ballot and so on, but okay. So the Supreme Court's hearing a couple of cases about him right now. We'll see how all of this plays out. But yeah, I am waiting to see not only I think it sets, putting Trump aside for a minute, a really dangerous precedent. Not just for elections, but the idea that some people have it in their head, okay, that Trump committed insurrection on January 6th. If that's what you believe, then that's your belief. Okay, you believe that. But the problem is he's never been formally charged with it, has never been to court where he had to stand in front of a judge to be formally charged. There has never been a court case where he got to face his accusers. That's not happened. And then found guilty by a jury of his peers. That has not happened. Therefore, he's not guilty of it until, well, it's not guilty because people think it's so. You have to prove it in a court of law, and Trump gets to face his accusers in that court hearing. And again, it's a jury of Trump's peers that would decide this. That has not happened. So then what are we doing with states trying to take him off the ballot for this? Now remember, and I think it's the same case in Maine and Colorado. Both those states are keeping Trump on the ballot. I don't know what Illinois is doing, but both those states are keeping Trump on the ballot until the Supreme Court makes a ruling, because they assume the Supreme Court's going to disagree with them. They don't know yet, but we'll see what the Supreme Court does. As for Illinois, though, now this is not Illinois Supreme Court. This is a judge in Illinois doing this. And I'm wondering, it's got to be because someone decided to file a case in Illinois, and this is the way the judge has seen it. So, okay, a judge is not the end of it in Illinois. This now would have to go all the way up to the Illinois Supreme Court, which it will go to, and I would think probably pretty quick. Then we just got to see what the Illinois Supreme Court does. Now, even if the Illinois Supreme Court agrees with the lower court ruling, then we got to wonder, but does the court do the same thing that Colorado's doing? That's our ruling, but he stays on the ballot until the Supreme Court rules, which means in every single case it goes all the way back to the Supreme Court. So we'll just have to wait and see. But it's another one of those, I know we're only into, tomorrow is March. So we've got a while here, but still the clock is ticking. And you know how slow courts tend to move on things. So, all right, we'll see if they get this done in time. And I usually don't hold out a lot of hope for the way courts get things done, especially when courts have been politicized. I can just see them dragging their feet on this way up to the last minute. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but we'll see if it is. I really would like the Supreme Court. I know they have a lot going on, but this is pretty important here. So decide this, Supreme Court. Go ahead and make a decision here so we can move on with whatever we're going to do. Let's get this done, because a lot is at stake here for the country. So the Supreme Court needs to make a decision, which the other states will go ahead and follow. I know that the case here in Wyoming just didn't go anywhere. It just died right away. Colorado, did I say? Wyoming. The case in Wyoming just died right away. There was one lawyer in Laramie, a retired lawyer, who kept trying to push the issue. I think he still is, but he's just not getting anywhere with it. All right, coming up on 7:30, local news coming away. Right after local news, update on the weather forecast. And then I have a little bit for you, but also our man in Cheyenne, Doug Randall, with the legislative update. Don Day with the weather forecast, with a sneak preview even through the weekend. And a lot of busy weather. A lot's changing. So Wake Up Wyoming.
Sunday.
Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Make your voice heard at 888-97-WOODS. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
I'm so happy to be here. Yeah. I'm just happy to be here. Still I know the world's on fire, the situation's dire. A lot of work and courage gonna be required, but I'm just happy to be
7:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. I'm glad to say Googly Eyes Cortez finally made news again. It's been a while.
Google Eyes. Eat 'em up the Google Eyes, Google Eyes, Google Eyes. Eat 'em up the Google Eyes, Google Eyes, Google Eyes.
And of course, for those who don't know, that would be Ocasio-Cortez. And there's always a big battle between whether that should be her opening song or this one. Marty Feldman Eyes. If you don't know who Marty Feldman was, you're too young to be listening to this show.
Her hair is hollow black. Her lips Dior ice. Her hands take no flack. She's got Marty Feldman eyes.
And I know I should probably find some songs about the big horse teeth, too, but all right. So she felt the need to get out in front of the House of Representatives, talk to reporters with a bunch of other members of the Democrat Party, and tried to defend Hunter Biden. Well, okay, take your best shot, googly eyes. I mean, fine.
I think the ranking member stated it completely. What we just witnessed over the last hour was, I think, a deep-sea fishing expedition because the Republican case has completely fallen apart over the last several weeks. After it's been exposed that the critical, one of their most key pieces of information was based on a source that was in communication with Russian intelligence. They are now trying to scramble to find anything to substantiate their fairy tale, is what we should call this. But I think more disturbingly, what we are seeing is just a complete and inappropriate expedition into the president's son, and for matters and subjects that are completely unrelated to an impeachment investigation. And I think it is extremely disturbing to see the lack of professionalism, the lack of grounding, and the abuse of public resources and abuse of public power in order to pursue something that truly, whose point at this juncture is very unclear.
Okay, so I think it's really interesting. All the Democrats behind her are nodding their heads. Oh, yeah, absolutely true. And yet, as typical, she didn't actually bring any substance with what she just said right there. That's okay. That's typical of googly eyes, but she took her best shot.
What? No, I'm not. She's the crazy ex-girlfriend. That's a sexist term. She's the crazy ex-girlfriend. Can you guys stop singing for just a second? She's so broken inside. The situation's a lot more nuanced than that. C-R-A-Z-Y.
Admit it, you were hoping somebody would say that. If it's happening in Wyoming, it's on Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods from K2 Radio. Join the conversation at 888-97-WOODS.
7:45 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to talk to Don Day from Day Weather. So, Don, when I step outside this morning and think to myself, what a nice day, I'm only thinking that because of the two previous days.
Yeah, we're going to be a little bit better. We're going to have to deal with the wind, I'm afraid. There's really not a day coming where we're not going to be able to, avoid the wind. But we are going to see temperatures rebounding. After that couple of days where it got real cold, we're going to get mild Pacific air coming back into the area again. But it's going to stay a busy pattern. Today and tomorrow, not a lot's going to happen on the plains other than the wind. But we're going to see as early as tonight and tomorrow significant snow heading into Yellowstone, Jackson, Star Valley. Evanston will be getting into some snow. And there's going to be a really big contrast between western Wyoming and the eastern side of the state. The west is going to be in snow and wind for several days, while the central and eastern part of the state will be windy and really not looking at any snow showers till Sunday or Monday.
It's interesting because there is, and you'll find this on your own Cowboy State Daily, there's a picture. If you head from Du Bois over to Jackson, as you cross over the pass, there's a place where there's a stop sign. And that stop sign is on a highway camera. And people like to see, when does that stop sign disappear in all the snow? So far, the concern is, well, it's got a long way to go. But I'm looking at this weekend's weather thinking it might catch up.
Well, it might, and we are hitting the big months that you tend to get the bigger snows in the mountains, March, April, into early May. So there's still time.
Okay.
But also that sign I've noticed in the years past that sometimes they plow the snow and it piles up there from plowing sometimes.
Oh,
so I don't know exactly if it's just straight snow on the level or what's going on there.
Okay.
But it's fun. And I don't know how tall that stop sign is. That looks pretty darn tall.
Yeah, it could be. Okay, well, we'll keep an eye on the stop sign, though. In the meantime, it's just squirrely weather for the next few days.
It's going into March, so
there you go.
Expect the squirreliness to be abounding.
The squirreliness, I'll keep that in mind. All right, thank you, Don. Okay, see, that's actually a term we're allowed to use when we're speaking in meteorological terms. Squirreliness. Off we go to the icebox where Frank Gambino's waiting by. So, speaking of that, Frank, I took some pictures here. This is really interesting. There's a very attractive young lady here in Wyoming. And she took a video of herself, decided to go out into her backyard, sit out there on her deck, and go ahead and pour herself a nice glass of wine.
Oh, and and then the wine was kind of going out of the bottle with the wind.
It never makes it to the glass.
And the first thing I thought of is that who put a big fan over there just for this video?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. But no, that was like...
What I'm saying is that this is another thing that's made for the internet, and I don't think that's reality at all.
Well, I don't know, because when we got into like Sunday's wind...
Well, that would have been bad, but who would have been out there? Because you know what you notice? The tree behind her isn't falling over. So how is the wine coming out of the bottle? You can barely go.
So you're calling fake on this?
Totally.
Okay. I'm thinking, if she wanted to go ahead and enjoy the wine outdoors, I don't know why she'd want to on a day like that. Now, there's a couple of different other ways to do this. You can open up a box of wine that has the pour spout.
Yeah.
Okay. Or you could drink directly from the bottle, but then your neighbors think you're a wino.
That's okay.
You don't mind because your neighbors think they
come join me.
Is that the problem?
Yeah.
Or you could just drink your wine inside.
Yeah.
Okay. But so I'm going to go back and watch the video now because I hadn't noticed. I was paying attention to what she was doing with the wine glass. But you think that because the tree wasn't blowing.
Well, it's blowing.
Yes. But
not as hard to make, this wine go the other direction.
Okay. All right.
I mean that's the way I look at it.
Yes.
I mean nowadays you don't really know anymore.
Yeah. Well, and I would assume that this, no matter what, would be a cheap bottle of wine. You wouldn't do that with an expensive bottle of wine.
No, absolutely.
Now we did have a view. This is a few years ago. Our friend down the hallway, Ian, did a video where he was in the kitchen upstairs here and said, I'm going to show you how you deal with the Wyoming wind. Here's good advice. And then he steps outside and continues talking, and you can't understand a thing.
That's part of it too.
Yeah,
yes.
The words are just getting blown away into the wind here. So I guess there's different ways to tell how windy it is. I did go ahead and put up a story a little while ago. I think I told you about it. How to tell how windy it is based on where your garbage can is.
Yeah, that's another one too. There were a ton the other day all over the place down the block. Oh man,
there is. Okay, do this next time where you are. Head on over to Johnny J's Diner.
Yeah.
Look at down the alley behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Those garbage cans have a base that they put in there.
Yes.
You've seen that?
Yes.
Okay, that's about the only thing that's going to save them.
Pretty much. All righty, the high school basketball, the 4A and 3A regional tournaments begin today. On the girls' side, the 4A East will be in Sheridan. Cheyenne Central will take on Thunder Basin at 9 this morning. Campbell County and Cheyenne South at 10:30. Cheyenne East and Natrona at 3:30. And Sheridan will take on Laramie at 5:30. And the 4A West at 4:30 this afternoon. Kelly Walsh will be playing Green River in Green River. In the 3A East regional for the girls, Glen Rock at 5 and 12 on the year. They will take on Torrington at 9 this morning. On the boys' side in the 4A East, Cheyenne Central at 20 and 2 will take on Campbell County at noon today. Natrona will take on Cheyenne East at 1:30. Cheyenne South, winless on the season, will meet Sheridan at 6:30. And then at 8 o'clock, Laramie at 17 and 3 will take on Thunder Basin at 8 p.m. In the 4A West, Kelly Walsh at noon today, they will meet Star Valley. In the 3A East regional for the boys, Glen Rock at 6 and 11 will take on Rollins at noon. Those, the 3A and 4A regionals are double elimination tournaments. It is really time for March Madness, even though that actually starts tomorrow, but it actually starts today. The state 1A and 2A high school basketball tournament begins this morning in Casper at the Ford Center and at Casper College. In the 1A girls bracket, Burlington and Rock River will start things off at 9 this morning in that breakfast game. Defending champion Upton plays Riverside at 10:30 this morning. Southeast and Lusk at 4:30, and Cokeville at 21 and 1 will meet Hewlett at 6 p.m. And the 1A boys bracket, it will be Saratoga at 17 and 4 meeting Southeast at noon. Cokeville at 20 and 2 takes on KC at 1:30 this afternoon. Farson and Guernsey at 7:30, and then Upton at 24 and 1 will meet Meeteetse at 9 p.m. And 2A, those games will be played at Casper College today. Kemmerer and Pine Bluffs at 9 this morning. Tongue River and Rocky Mountain at 10:30. Tongue River's 21 and 3. Lingo Fort Laramie at 20-5 will take on Wind River at 4:30, and Burns, the defending champion, will beat Wyoming Indian at 6 p.m. and Wyoming Indian is 22-2. On the boys' side, Tongue River and Big Piney at noon at the college. Tongue River is 20-4. Wyoming Indian at 21-6 beats Pine Bluffs at 1:30. Grable and Lusk at 7:30, and Wright at 22-5 will take on Kemmer at 9 p.m. at the college. In women's college basketball, the Wyoming Cowgirls broke a 4-game losing streak with an 88-73 win over a really bad San Jose State team in California. UW put the game away in the first half. They shot a whopping 69% from the floor in the first 20 minutes. Tess Barnes led the way with 21 as Allison Fertig recorded a double-double with 13 points and 10 rebounds. Cowgirls are 15-12 overall, 10-6 in Mountain West play. They will host Fresno State in Laramie on Saturday.
I'm going to have to follow this social media. You will advise me not to, but I have no choice.
I know.
It's a page called Hot Dogs in Unusual Places.
I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know.
It's not nothing bad, Frank. It's nothing bad.
No.
Have a good day. Yeah, it's hysterical. I followed them. Not bad. It's not bad. It's just... Some of these pictures are just absolutely hysterical. Okay, coming up on 8:06. If all goes well, the governor is on the air. Let's Wake Up Wyoming. 6:06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Thursday. It's a leap day, by the way. This day only happens once every 4 years, so enjoy it while you can. An extra day of life. Hold off on the open phones, which we usually do at this time, because the legislative body is in session and they don't have long to go. So Governor Mark Gordon has decided to give us an update from his point of view about what's going on there. Governor, do you ever feel like a high school principal when the legislators are in session?
To ref soccer, so I know how to do that a little bit. But thanks very much, Glenn. Good to hear your voice.
Well, I always kind of wonder if there's a couple of senators smoking in the boys' room while you're working in your office. But okay, let's take a look at some of what's going on. I think one of the big issues for the state of Wyoming right now is all of the bills that were offered up to do something about property taxes in the state of Wyoming. A few of them I thought were pretty good ideas. Not much is left. The last I heard, there was only 7 bills left.
Yeah, I think that's right. And, you know, I think that House Bill 203 died yesterday. I thought it was an interesting concept. I hope it goes to interim committee. I think there's some value there. A little worried. That was Representative Harshman's bill that would have, kind of cut property tax pretty dramatically and tried to raise a bit of sales tax. I've been an advocate of a flat tax for years. But in any event, it died yesterday, but I do think we need to look at it a little more carefully.
Well, let's just make it a note here that it takes a leap year day for you and I to agree on something, because I have been watching that bill with great interest, and I thought it does have a lot of promise. I was just waiting to see what the devils are in the details. I did notice that you've already had a chance to line item veto a few things.
Well, what it was some rules from the Secretary of State's office, and while I have ever since being a treasurer, and actually before that, when I was working at Apache Oil Company, I have continually fought against ESG. The things that I lined item down of the rule package that the Secretary sent was a requirement that a consumer would have to consent to basically an investment strategy, which could be fraudulent. So how can you consent to fraud? That sounds sort of strange. So it did line item that out. And then the other thing is that it was, he was requiring that there be one asset allocation, and that be for maximum return. And, if you're in your 80s or 90s, 70s, you are on an annuity, you wouldn't have been able to do that. So, for me, I think that's up to the consumer. I did like that he was wanting to out all the ESG initiatives on investments, but it is up to the consumer. I think it's a matter of personal interest and personal initiative to say, this is how I want my money invested.
Okay, let's take a look at the budget proposals from the House and Senate, because I got a chance to glance at some of your ideas and take a look at what the House and Senate is doing. Am I wrong? It looks like both both houses there are offering up bills that are bigger than yours, or budgets that are bigger than what you proposed.
Well, no, I think actually a little bit smaller.
Okay.
But there's about 1.1 billion in between. I think the really big difference, and I am completely surprised by this, is how anti-energy the Senate seems to be. And I know they took shots at Senator Simons, for instance, took shots at all the 300 series of the various things I do, and I know Sherry doesn't like me very much, but I don't understand why, the Senate wants to throw energy under the bus. And, all I can think of is when we were talking about one of our power plants closing, and the utility told me, don't worry, the people that are going to work here, they'll all have jobs, probably won't be in Wyoming, but they'll all have jobs. Well, you think about that, Glenn, and there's the cafe, there's the bank, there's the hardware store, there's the movie theater, there's all the other things that depend on that energy industry. And what I've been really trying to do all the way through all of this is to say, look at Wyoming, don't look at Texas, don't look at North Dakota, don't look at Louisiana, where all that activity is, going to go. It's even going to go to Colorado. For me, Wyoming's got to stay in the crosshairs for energy development, and we've always fought for that. So I'm completely confused why the Senate has said, no to anything to further our energy industry.
Okay. Is it maybe a matter of approach to this? Because from where I sit, I take a look at a very free market approach. You know me, I'm a little more of a libertarian kind of guy. The more free market and the less government involvement, the better we will be as far as energy in Wyoming.
Yeah, Glenn, I would agree with that. But, it takes a lot of money to be able to stand up something like a new power plant. And they're going to go places where they can make that return on investment much quicker. And that's why they're going to places like North Dakota to revamp the coal plant up there. And our plants are nearing, we've got Dry Fork, which is fairly new, and we've got Laramie that is fairly new, but, Dave Johnson's nearing the end of its life. You got Jim Bridger nearing the end of its life. Naughton, they've already decided they're going to try to slow down. We've been fighting against the regulations, which is why we've been able to extend Jim Bridger, been able to extend Wyodak, all of these plants. But you think about the amount of money it's going to take and the amount of time it's going to take to rebuild these things. And when we could refurbish them by pointing out that we've done a better job, I agree with you 100%. I'd love to have a straight up free market, but if the free market dictates it's better to do business in Texas, Wyoming's going to be left high and dry.
What about other forms of energy that have been proposed for Wyoming? We're still looking at things like nuclear power, or for that matter, uranium mining, and then, oh Lord, we found a whole bunch of rare earth minerals here.
Yeah, and there's a couple of interesting stories, Glenn. Uranium mining, we stood up 2 mines while I was in the treasurer's office. They're up and running. For a long, long time, I spent a lot of time talking with the Trump administration and Larry Kudlow saying, if you're going to put tariffs on everything, for heaven's sake, put it on your Russian uranium, because it was killing our market. Now we finally got TerraPower coming into the state. That's made a big change. The price of yellow cake has gone up dramatically from a few, tens of dollars to over $100. So we're seeing a resurgence of that industry, and that's really important. And on the rare earths, I couldn't tell you, give you a better example than Fremont County. When I was a kid, you know, Atlantic City was up and running, great iron mine, had a railroad spur to it. People working, the Atlantic City Mercantile was a going concern. You could have a great meal there. Jeffrey City, you know, was up. The Grass Hills were up. Shirley Basin was up. What the Senate's done is to take out some of the funding that might go to help a nickel mine. And nickel's one of those rare minerals that we really, really need. So, you know, those are the things that I think the choices that are being made are really going to be dramatically difficult for people wanting jobs and careers and extending our economy.
All right, last one for you, because I know you got a lot of important things you got to run off and do. So let's take a look at balancing the budget this year, because it has to be balanced. That's part of our Wyoming Constitution. Thank God for that. Are they going to reach that mark, do you think? Do we have a nice balance between what's coming in and what's going out?
You know, that was where we started, was a real concern that after all the money coming in from COVID, which are our taxpayer dollars that have been appropriated, so if they're not put to use here, and if you remember, Glenn, you and I talked about we need to make it so that the value lasts in Wyoming. It's not just cover this expense or that expense, but those dollars would go somewhere else. But they're now, you know, drying up, going away. Wyoming's coming back to earth. We have to balance our budget, and that is one reason why I have been as forceful as I have about let's make sure Wyoming Energy stays competitive in the marketplace, because most of our taxes are paid by oil and gas and coal. And all of those are going to have a little bit of a tough time going forward. You look at lift costs, nothing to do with regulations, just the cost to getting it out of the ground is higher in Wyoming than it is in New Mexico and Texas. And so what we've hoped to do is to make sure that energy companies know we are committed to them, that there's a future for them here, that Wyoming is their partner, and that we have a better regulatory framework than anywhere else. That's, you know, what I get concerned about is as those revenues start to shrink, our ability to provide services that people have come, you know, used to is going to be diminished. We'll always balance the budget. Heck, I cut a third of the budget a couple of years ago, and, you know, people didn't like the fact that we closed rest areas, but that was the stuff we had to do.
All right, Governor, thanks for coming on this morning. I really would love to have a conversation, especially when we wrap it up. I know there's a lot of things you can't talk about for the Constitution while they're making decisions, but at the end of it all, come on the program. Let's go ahead and do a wrap-up.
Would love to do that, Glenn. Thanks so much, and I hope everybody's going to have a great day up there, and we really appreciate the service you render for Wyoming.
I appreciate that. 8:17 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Glenn Woods. He talks to you, not at you. Be part of the show at 888-97-WOODS. This is Wake Up Wyoming on K2 Radio.
8:22 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. So, okay, Governor was just on. Hope you heard it. If not, don't worry. This program becomes a podcast after I get off the air, so you can always go back and listen to it again. Now it's open phones. 888-97-WOODS, 888-97-WOODS. Of course, Rose and Casper was listening. Morning, Rose.
Good morning, Glenn. How are you?
Okay, good. So, what'd you think?
Well, I don't want to talk about what I thought on that, but because I'd already started with something this morning.
Sure, okay.
But he was talking about 203, so I wanted to fill you in on a little bit of the background information on that and give a couple shout-outs. I do believe in giving credit where credit is due. You know, I've even given praise to county commissioners from time to time when they're deserving, which consequently will not be the case this Tuesday. Mm-hmm. So as far as 203, there's Harshman, the bringer of the bill. It was full of logic and principles, but there was a little grassroots group of conservatives in Natrona County with its 3 founding members that were in support of this, and a few consistently true conservative representatives who supported it all the way through. My neighboring representative to the east, Miss Tommy Strock, and to the northwest, John Bear Gillette, and in Casper-Jeanette Ward. My personal favorite, though, was the man from Midwest, Mr. Bill Alaman. He kept his butt in the center and his mind in the middle riding this thing. And at a local level, we had our only consistently conservative county commissioner, Mr. Dave North. Can you say that 10 times fast?
Mm-hmm. No, I can't. And I'm a radio personality, and I'm not going to try it.
Okay. As far as our other conservative representatives who did not support it, it was egos and the questioning of the bill to death with what ifs. Mm-hmm. And I know one thing, Glenn. I'm sure it wasn't what if following the initial one that got us to the moon and back.
Right.
What if we could have had real property tax reform and then cut government spending? That should have been the focus.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I was just surprised how fast this thing died. In fact, it was watered down to the point that it didn't make sense anymore, and that's where Harshman reintroduced the original bill, and it just died. Now, as the governor just got done saying, there is an opportunity to revive this thing, although they don't have a whole lot of time left to do it, but somebody could have bring it back up. I'd like to see it sail through the Senate and head to the House, and I would love to see enough public support, because imagine the idea of, for most people in Wyoming, on your house you don't have a property tax. It's just such a simple idea, I think.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's actually brilliant. It was, and, I think it's crazy that they want to take it back to the interim because, they want to take time and study it, and that's the thing we're talking about is all these government studies. Why are we wasting time and money?
I also noticed that it is interesting. Today is a day that only happens, as you know, once every 4 years. It's a leap day. And on this day, you finally called up and said some nice things about government. There's people you complimented. Now, I don't expect that to happen, Rose, for another 4 years.
Point well taken, Glenn.
Okay, all right. Thanks for calling. I appreciate it. 888-97 words is the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. Yeah, we're talking about that bill, and even the governor was. I was kind of surprised, but pleased to see that even the governor liked the idea. So that was the bill that would have gotten rid of property taxes for most people in Wyoming. Those people who would not have been affected still get a good reduction in their property tax. So everybody's affected positively. And we replace it with a 2% sales tax. And a lot of that 2% sales tax is spread out across the tourist industry because they spend so much money here. So, Blue Eyes in Douglas. And I'd like to know, Blue Eyes, a little bit more. See, I had limited time with the governor, so I really can't dive into that. When he says that we're the Wyoming House and Senate is very anti-energy, I'd like to know a little bit more. What does he mean by anti-energy? Because I look at things like getting involved with carbon sequestration, things like that, as anti-energy. The fact that we have a law in Wyoming that says that the energy industry has to get involved in carbon sequestration, to me, is anti-energy. And also, for you, the consumer, it just raises your utility rates. So I would have liked to have had a little bit more time. Maybe next time I get a chance to talk with him, we'll have a little more time, and I can delve into that with him. I'm sorry, I ask what I can, but I also realize that the clock is ticking. I'm also a firm believer in I get to shoot my mouth off 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. So when I do have someone on who oftentimes disagrees with me on things, I let them talk because I think it's fair to go ahead and just let them, even if you're out there just screaming at the radio, at least you got to hear what they had to say, whether you liked it or not, directly from them, not my interpretation or somebody else's interpretation of it. But yeah, I think one of the things that I would do, and the point I was trying to make to the governor is, if we really want to save the energy industry in Wyoming, we get rid of a lot of regulations. That includes carbon sequestration. Just get rid of all of this stuff, all these mandates and regulations, and let them do business. Let them go. Let them do business. All right. Well, we'll see. We're not done with this yet. The House and Senate are still in session for about another, I guess, week and a half here. They have mentioned special session. That bill that would have offered up property tax or a sales tax instead of a property tax, as the governor said, they could still go ahead and resuscitate it. There's time left. we'll see what they end up with. I would really hate to think that we get through the legislative session and we don't get anything on property tax reform. Now, nobody wants to see that. Coming up on 8:30, local news coming your way right after local news update on the weather forecast, and you and I get back into it. It is a nice long segment of open phone. So 888-97 Woods, the phone number. 888-97 WOODS. Wake Up Wyoming.
Covering world-ending catastrophes for years to come. It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Find content, chat live, and listen on demand on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app.
8:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Okay, so lots been happening already this morning, and now's a chance for you guys to get in on this. Dangerous time for this program. It's open phones.
Warning. Wake Up Wyoming is about to enter daily open phones. This means that anyone will be allowed to call in and talk about anything. I mean, imagine if we actually allowed you on air to say anything you wanted. Scary, right? Well, we're just that brand of crazy. If you are offended by what other people think, then maybe you want to tune out right about now. Just saying. If you should choose to call, just remember, the more funny and interesting you are, the longer Glenn will keep you on the line. Obnoxious jerks will be hung up on. Dave, all right, strap in, and let's do this thing.
888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97 WOODS. Okay, so Blue Eyes in Douglas. I gotta go see what you're talking about. She sends me a note, okay, new subject, why the hell are we reporting on our news about Wallet Hub? I know Wallet Hub's horrible. We know they're idiots. Now they're saying that Wyoming is not even a happy place to be. Yeah, and she's lived in Douglas for a good long time, so I think, okay, but that's Wallet Hub for you. They just turn out garbage. Anyway, here's a completely different subject for you, too. So, a little while ago, Wendy's restaurant, you might have heard about this. They were talking about raising their prices during prime times. Now, to be fair to Wendy's, a lot of restaurants that are not fast food restaurants do this. If you go to a Chinese buffet, they have their prices during the middle of the day, which there's not a whole lot of people there. But their lunch prices and their dinner prices are higher, much higher, because that's where the rush is. During the off times is when they're trying to get people in, so they offer lower prices. If I go, and there's a couple of Chinese buffets there's one in Cheyenne that I really like a whole lot, that if I go there, well, I go during the off hours because I know they're going to charge me less than if I went during prime time. So, okay, Wendy's had this idea of charging more during their busy times, breakfast and lunch and dinner. And if you went during an off time, then the price would be lower. People started to yell and scream and object, right? So Wendy's is trying to save it. And they must have hired a politician, or maybe someone who helps a politician get elected, to craft this garbage. Wendy's is saying they're not raising prices during surging times, but will simply offer discounts during slower times. Okay. They're not raising prices during slower times. They're offering discounts during slower times. Okay. The story says here, we said these menu boards will give us more flexibility to change the display of featured items. Now, for those who grew up when I did, a menu board was very difficult to change. Every time something changed on the menu, somebody had to go up there and change by hand all of the lettering. Now it's a computer screen, and corporate sends what's going to be displayed up there, right? So if a price changes, then they can just go ahead and type it in, and there it is, right? So this was misconstrued in some media report, says Wendy's, as an intention to raise prices when demand is highest at our restaurants. They say we have no plans to do that. and would not raise our prices when our customers are visiting most. This is what Wendy's is saying. Any features we may test in the future would be designed to benefit our customers and new restaurant crew members. Digital menu boards could allow us to change menu offerings at different times of day and offer discounts and value offers to customers, particularly during the slower times of the day. So it sounds to me like they're trying to pass this off as, no, we're not raising our prices during the busier times. We're lowering our prices during the quiet times. I don't know. I haven't been to Wendy's in a while. It's like not like I've never gone, but I'd have to see if that's exactly what they're doing. But here, quote, charging higher prices when there's more demand is one of the basic tenets of economics, and it is. The basic principle between, well, happy hour, for example, or matinee movie prices, okay? Well, and for that matter, when in defense of Wendy's, when I go flying cross-country on a commercial airliner, I wait. I've told you this before. So Thanksgiving hits. I wait. I'm not going during Thanksgiving. Everybody's going during Thanksgiving. I wait. Thanksgiving is over. Now there's a week or so. There's a little bit of time until Christmas. The week after Thanksgiving is when I book airplane tickets cross country. And man, do I get serious discounts. I mean, massive discounts. I flew from Casper to Denver to Tampa and back, round trip, $377. Yeah, because it was off season. So if that's what they're doing, then okay. Now, I'm doing a little bit of topic hopping too, and you can do the same thing. 888-97-WOODS is the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. You can talk about what I'm talking about, change the subject, fine by me. Here's a question for you that I thought was really interesting. The cult of climate change continues to tell us that we're going to have stronger winds, stronger hurricanes, stronger thunderstorms, et cetera, right? Than ever before. The author of this article says, well, if that's the case, then why do you keep putting up more towers and more wind farms, which are just going to get blown away? This is Eric Worrell is his name. He says, if storms are getting worse, how can fragile wind and solar towers, wind towers, but solar, how can they possibly survive these so-called superstorms of the future? After a summer of flood and heat waves. And they talk about this as we're going to have weather on steroids. Well, okay, we have weather on steroids. That means your wind and solar is not going to survive it, huh? Greg is in Laramie. Hello, Greg.
Hi, Glenn. How you doing today?
I'm doing really good because the caffeine has kicked in double time.
Well, sometimes it gets me and I get going. I've been listening over the last couple of days, and I just wanted to commend you for, I don't think some of the guests that call in think they're producing comedy, but I really got to laugh a lot about some of them.
Okay.
From Chuck Gray calling in to talking about fraud and integrity, which I find interesting, considering how he got elected. But I do, I just have this feeling I do want to call in about your callers were concerned. I think her name was Ann up in Casper.
Okay. And
maybe that Micah down in Cheyenne, worried about the new gravel pits going on.
Right.
And I wanted to clarify some of that.
Okay.
Again, if you have a gravel pit, there's no silica exposure. What they need to worry about is if you can see visible emissions of dust coming up, that indicates that they aren't using enough water to keep dust suppression down.
Right.
And most of the people that operate gravel pits don't have access to enough water. So the employees are probably getting exposed above silica. And also, if it blows over to your neighborhood, the regulators should do that. So, I feel like I should call in on a public service. I do find Ann very cognizant. I also thought Micah's saying that Reagan and Trump were great, even though they were old, but somehow Biden's not good. But I do agree with her that Biden has been the best Democratic president, and he's been the older one.
He's been the best Democratic. Okay, you know something? Biden is so bad he made Carter look good. I mean, that's how bad Biden is. And Carter was horrible.
I'll just say this. Well, Carter was, Carter shouldn't have let, anyway, we won't go down to El Salvador with Carter. But I'll just say this. When you actually listen to Biden knows his stuff, and he's very articulate.
Oh, no, I listen to Biden. And you know something? I'm not sure which Biden you're listening to, but the guy that I'm listening to, I mean, honestly, he needs to be brought home and cared for by his family. Honestly. And let him eat all the ice cream he wants, okay, Greg? Okay, I got to run because I'm running out of time here with you. But I would love to continue that conversation.
My back hurts from carrying the weight of being my mom's most badass child.
This show contains sarcasm that some listeners may find disturbing. A sense of humor is advised. Chat with Glenn live on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
8:49 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to the icebox to talk to Frank Gambino, who at the end of this segment, I guess you're out of here. You're heading
I'm going to be over at the Ford Center in a few minutes.
Okay. And at the Ford Center, that's going to go on all weekend, right?
Yeah, for all day today, all day tomorrow, all day Saturday.
Wow.
1A and 2A state basketball.
Okay. And do they do, I know it's a big area, one game at a time?
One game at a time.
Okay.
And then so today the 1A games are at the Ford Center and the 2A games are at Casper College.
Okay.
And they will flip-flop tomorrow.
Right. But it's wrestling that they do like a dozen matches at once.
This is one game at a time,
One game at a time over there.
In one building at a time. Yeah.
So you go over to, why do they switch them between days?
Well, so they can get a different gym. You know, so the event, the Ford Center is, a much bigger arena, and Casper College is a smaller one. So, you got to give everyone a chance here to
Does
play
either one have better snacks for the Gambino?
They're both the same, actually.
Okay. Oh, it's a shame.
Not the same stuff.
Right.
But the quality is
the
same. Yes.
Okay. So you'll be having lots of stuff with cheese on it this afternoon.
I'll be there all day.
Okay.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
They have a little green room for you, I suppose.
They do, and they're like, Frank, stop bringing your dates. I go there, you just be by yourself.
Okay. Well, what everybody just suddenly started screaming at the radio is they know you're not bringing anyone.
Well, no, that's true.
Your cat, maybe.
No. I'll go stag. Thank you.
You'll go stag, yeah. But no, your cat would be allowed in. I just don't think your cat would be.
No, I'm lucky to be allowed in.
Do you bring a kitty bag at the end of all this?
No, I haven't taken leftovers in many years.
Okay.
All righty. The state high school basketball, the 1A and 2A tournament does start this morning in Casper. The 1A games are at the Ford Center, and just in a few minutes, the first girls game will be underway. Burlington will take on Rock River. Defending champion Upton will meet Riverside at 10:30, and at 4:30 it'll be Southeast from Yoder taking on Little Snake River at 4:30, and then Cokeville at 21-1. They will play at 6 o'clock against Hewlett. In the 1A boys bracket, also at the Ford Center, Saratoga at 17-4 will take on Southeast at noon. Cokeville at 20-2 meets KC at 1:30. Farson Eden will take on Guernsey Sunrise at 7:30, and Upton at 24-1 will take on Matisse at 9 p.m. tonight. The 2A games are over at Casper College. That first game will start here in a few minutes. Kemmerer and Pine Bluffs at 9 a.m. Tongue River at 21-3 will take on Rocky Mountain at 10:30. This is for the girls. Lingo Fort Laramie will meet Wind River at 4:30, and Burns at 11:15. They are the defending champions. Will meet Wyoming Indian, and the Lady Chiefs are 22-2. On the boys' side in 2A, those games over at Casper College as well. Tongue River at 20-4 will meet Big Piney at noon. Wyoming Indian at 21-6 takes on defending champion Pine Bluffs at 1:30. Grable at 12-13 will take on Lusk, who comes in at 18-7. That'll be at 7:30. And Wright at 22-5 meets Kemmerer at 9 p.m. The semifinals will be tomorrow, and the championship games will be on Saturday at the Ford Center. The 3A and 4A regional basketball tournaments also start this morning. The 4A East will be in Sheridan right in a few minutes here. Cheyenne Central will take on Thunder Thunder Basin on the girls' side, followed by South and Campbell County at 10:30. Cheyenne East at 21-2 will take on the Trona at 3:30, and Sheridan will take on Laramie at 5:30 in that regional in Sheridan. Now on the boys' side of that 4A East regional, Cheyenne Central at 20-2 meets Campbell County at noon. At 1:30, it's East and Trona. Sheridan will play South at 6:30 tonight, and Laramie at 17-3 will meet Thunder Basin at 8 p.m. 4A West regional is in Green River. The Kelly Walsh will take on Green River at 4:30 for the girls, and then the Kelly Walsh boys will meet Star Valley at noon. The 3A East regional is in Rawlins. The Glen Rock girls will meet Torrington here starting in a few minutes, and the Glen Rock boys will take on Rawlins at noon. In women's college basketball, the Wyoming Cowgirls broke a 4-game losing streak with an 88-73 win over a bad San Jose State team last night in California. UW put that game away in the first half, shooting a whopping 69% from the floor. The Cowgirls are 15-12 overall, 10-6 in Mountain West play, and they will host Fresno State on Saturday afternoon in Laramie.
So if you have a kid in Wyoming in sports, he's not home this weekend.
Pretty much. You know, the wrestlers were last week, and that was a big group.
Right.
So now our next big group comes in, and then we'll have one more after that next week too. So
and then Frank gets to take a weekend off.
Oh, probably. I'm going to take a couple of days.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, Frank. Drive careful over there. Coming up on some local business we have to take care of. Got to roll into news time after that. National local update on the weather forecast, and we are in open phone, so you can change the subject all you want. 888-97 Woods, the phone number. 888-97 WOODS. Wake up, Wyoming.
Click now to learn more. Miami Dolphins general manager.
Sorry for the crossover audio there. An ad decided to pop up when I was bringing something else up. Okay, so we're into the 9 o'clock hour.
Today's show is sponsored by Do-It-Yourself Pet Taxidermy Kit. You'll never have to say goodbye to Mr. Sprinkles again.
I'm making an alarm clock out of mine, but okay. We are into the open phone segment of this program. 888-97 Woods, the phone number. 888-97 WOODS. A couple of things. First off, before I get into the topic and answer a couple of people sending me messages off the app, I almost forgot to say this. And I think I'll probably mention it tomorrow, too, just to thank everyone. So, as you know, I come out with the occasional book, which has been a dream of mine since I was a kid, to be a writer. So, the occasional book of fiction or nonfiction, right? And the latest one I came out with is Genericville, which is a book about, it's actual true homeowners association horror stories. The couple in the book, the lead couple, moved into one of these neighborhoods thinking that it was a safe place to be, and then found out the reality of it. Okay, and it's one of those stories that it's got two things going on at once. It seems like a very, very happy story, but the more you get into it, the more disturbing it gets, and I mean really disturbing, and all of it's based on true stuff. So there's Genericville, my first novel, Essence, which is a ghost story based on a real event in Savannah, Georgia. And then, of course, my book, The Uncomplicated Life, which is a nonfiction book about just basically uncomplicating your life. And those books have been doing well. And I appreciate that. Now, I got a call yesterday from in Casper, Wyoming, in downtown. There's Wind City Books. And I got a call from the owner, and she said, "Can you bring me some more books?" And I said, "Sold out again?" And she said, "Yeah." Well, this would be the fourth time. And I said, "Well, how many copies of what books would you like?" And she said, "All 3 books. Could you bring me 6 of each?" And I thought for a second, "They're doing that well?" And she said, "Oh, yeah. People come in all the time asking for any one of these books or several of them." So this is the fourth time that Wind City Books have sold out of all of those books, Essence, The Uncomplicated Life, and Genericville. So when I get off the air here, when I leave, one of the things I'm going to do is head over to Wind City Books and just drop by. She's been getting them directly through me, which is fine. But, wow, Thank you, folks. Now, there's other places. A lot of people just buy those books off of Amazon, which is fine. Just go in and type in, any one of those titles and my name, and, up they come, you can get them. Another place in Wyoming you can get them is if you go to Chugwater, Wyoming, to the Tri-County Mercantile, there. But I wanted to thank everybody for stopping by and just taking out. The books are doing well all over, but just to pick that one bookstore to have sold out 4 times within just recent months, I really can't thank you folks enough. And I get a lot of email and also just messages off of social media from people about the fact that they're enjoying those books. So I really appreciate your doing that. Okay, it is open phones. So, well, it is kind of just having really enjoyable to hear from people who've read anything and come back and said they enjoyed that and they're going to go get the next one. So, hey, Jude. Wait a second, Judy. Hold on. That's the one that always sticks. Now you're on the air.
Okay. I wanted to tell our senators a good job because they cut $900 million from the budget.
Okay.
Okay. So when Gordon's talking about needing more money, he wants to give $150 million, $80 million, $200 million, total of $430 million to whatever? No. The wind and solar industry, carbon capture, okay, that kind of stuff. Even though we're exporting 80% of our energy, Wyoming customers are still getting stuck for the big rate hike. My electric bill almost doubled this last 3 months since Rocky Mountain Power got their hands on the electric. I also wanted to talk about the carbon capture. We know that's a boondoggle. That ought to be cut out of the budget as well. There is, on another subject on that gravel pit, there's a House Bill 44 going through back to the House this next go-around over the excavation and some of the rules that go with it. But that's kind of where I'm going with it. I think Gordon just basically lied to you guys. He wants that big budget so he can keep his green energy going, and I think we've had enough of the green energy. It's not producing what it's supposed to. It's not what do they call it? Intermediate, to where they can't store it. And yet we're getting stuck for all the pricing on it. And frankly, I'm tired of it. As far as the House, we've got a mess over there. I counted no less than 21 Democrats pretending to be Republicans. And I'm ashamed to say that a bunch of them just really need to step off.
Well, they're not going to do that. What we need is citizens in those areas actually looking for real conservatives to not just run, but to vote for.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And that's what we do all the time, on Facebook and on Twitter and everywhere else. Don't be afraid to step up. We know the Casper Star is going to tear you apart. We know the Cowboy is going to tear you apart. But don't be afraid because, unless you murdered somebody, that isn't going to keep me from voting for you if you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, okay.
So.
All right. Well, I'm glad you got a chance to blow off some steam at Gordon anyway because, I thought that
he's ridiculous.
Yeah, okay.
He's ridiculous. It is. It's ridiculous. And I want whatever drugs Greg's on.
Well, now, okay, so for Greg here, Jimmy Carter, as you and I both know, because we were there, was just the worst ever. Now, as a human being, I always thought Jimmy Carter was a good Christian man. He's a decent man. Yeah. But he should have never been president. He was horrible. No. And the fact that he was... when we had the Soviet Union at its peak and he was disarming us, we didn't just have inflation or even, for that matter, we had high inflation and the economy was stagnant at the same time. Remember that? So they invented a new word called stagflation because of Jimmy Carter. And it just went on and on and on. Well, okay, Jimmy Carter was horrible, and people kept wondering who's going to be worse than him. Well, here's Joe Biden. And as DJ up in Gillette points out, Greg from Laramie declares Biden is the best. What about Afghanistan military pullout, border security, high gas and grocery prices? Then she calls him a dog-faced lying pony soldier.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a real nice guy.
Yeah.
Biden is. Oh, and one more thing on that. When Gordon said we need to stay competitive, that's a buzzword. I heard that at least 11 times through these lobbyists, through the works, or through these sessions down in Cheyenne, that if we don't stay competitive, they'll go somewhere else. Good.
Yeah. Here's how you stay competitive in the energy. Well, I'll tell you exactly how you stay competitive in energy industry in Wyoming. First off, get rid of this carbon sequestration mandate, because that greatly lowers prices and regulations right there. Look for any other taxes and mandates that is hindering the industry from doing what it needs to be doing. Let the free market decide how we produce the energy, not government.
That's right.
Government should not be picking wind and solar or whatever else. The free market picks it.
Yep, pull them subsidies, and let's see how long wind and solar want to put up towers in Wyoming.
Right.
I think they're an abomination myself. They had some stupid article in one of the newspapers. Oh, well, bats aren't getting killed by these. And I'm going, I got a friend that works, that rescues animals and stuff, like, what do you call it, fish and game kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes out there and he cleans up hundreds of bats and birds around these wind farms. And he gets like, I don't know, $8 a head. He's making really good money.
And here we are doing this, Judy. I tell you what, you and I should encourage the wind industry, and then we'd go out there and make money until eventually we run out of birds and bats. I think we're going to screw ourselves out of work eventually.
Yeah.
But if we can make a bunch of money doing this, then we can sell them for like food.
Yeah. Well, that's what they'd have us eat. We got so many darn Democrats running places in this state right now that claim to be Republicans. I'm ashamed of half of them in the House. Half of them I wouldn't even speak to because of the things that they got up there. They destroyed those bills that would have done Wyoming citizens wonderful. Mm. And I don't mean just the one bill. I mean a lot of bills that would have been good for Wyoming. But like I said, they're beholden to their donors and owners.
Okay. All right. Real quick before you go, Mitch McConnell's down. So he's not going to he's going to finish out his term, but he's not going to stay as head of the Republican Party in the Senate. Now, that does put Barrasso on the short list.
Yeah, well, Cornyn's going to run, too, I think.
Yeah.
I think his name was dropped in the hat this morning, I've read. Barrasso can never sit in that seat.
Yeah.
He just, no. It's a definite no.
Okay.
And we still need somebody to run against him. Besides Reed Rasner, we need another one so that we can please a lot more people than just a few. But anyway, no, it's time for a change. Barrasso needs to go.
All right. Thank you, Judy.
Birds. Let's face it, they're annoying. They're everywhere, filling the skyways and dropping their little droppings on our automobiles, on our homes, and causing billions of dollars of damage every single year, eating gardens right down to the nub, including the seeds. And of course, we've all seen Alfred Hitchcock's movie, The Birds. Yes, birds cost the American economy billions of dollars every year in damage, and billions of dollars to our economy by slowing down traffic at airports, and even bringing down planes by dangerously flying into the engines. So how do we rid the skyways of these pesky creatures? We've found a way. Windmills are the answer. Yes, environmentally friendly because they don't use pesticides. Massive churning windmill blades bring down birds by the hundreds every single day. And thanks to Barack Obama's incentives and subsidies, windmill farms are now popping up around the country. Last year alone, we killed over 500,000 of these pesky creatures. Maybe right in your own backyard. Join us, won't you? Call your congressman. Ask for more windmills and more windmill subsidies so we can rid the skies of these pesky, costly nuisance creatures we call birds. Brought to you by the Coalition for Cleaner, Safer Skies.
Now, Glenn Woods fits in your pocket with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030, K2 Radio.
9:24 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming, and 888-97. What's the phone number? That's 888-97. WOODS. Mandy is in Casper for those people in the Natrona County area. She says, I don't know if you've already talked about it this morning, but there's a meeting tonight, 6 o'clock, Ag Resource Building outside the fairgrounds for folks who are concerned over this mine operation and the companies trying to start it. She's exchanged emails with Steve Harshman and Tom Walters, as well as some others about this. So if you want to go, that's 6 o'clock tonight at the building outside of the fairgrounds there. So thanks for reminding us of that. All right, 888-97-WOODS is the phone number. Ladies and gentlemen, don't know if you're aware of this, but according to the cult of climate change, you're living in the apocalypse.
So put on your respirator and let's fix that generator. And while we're out, we'll mend our fences too. See, I'm not afraid of dying. Just got reasons for surviving. I want one more day in the apocalypse with you.
Okay, so first story I have. These things are just kind of fun. You might not have heard of the Drax Power Station. The Drax Power Station is basically in a rainforest. Drax Power Company, which has received about 6 billion euros green subsidies, has kept burning wood for some time now. They're supposed to get away from that. It comes as the government decides whether to give these firms billions of dollars more in environmental subsidies funded by, well, energy bills from the taxpayers. Drax says its wood pellets are sustainable and legally harvested. Drax Power Station near North Yorkshire. Oh, okay. I thought this was going to be out in the jungle somewhere. North Yorkshire is a converted coal plant which burns wood pellets. In 2023, they produced about 5% of the UK's electricity. This site has become key part of the government's drive to meet climate targets. Its owner receives money from energy bills because the electricity produced from burning pellets is classified as renewable. Do you see what they did there? Because you can plant a tree, you cut down a tree, you plant a new tree. That's renewable. In fact, the power station emits about 12 million tons of carbon every year. Now, you and I know that CO2 is not a pollutant. It's good for the planet. But they're worried about that. And yet, the UK does not count that as emissions because it's a renewable source. Of all the 6.5 million tons of wood pellets burned by Drax each year, the wood produced overseas, many comes from Drax's 17 pellet plants in the U.S. and Canada. So we're supplying not coal to them, but wood. In 2022, they received the company obtained logging licenses in Canada and British Columbia and so on to go ahead and cut down trees to make wood pellets, which is, again, considered as renewable energy. And then they contain documents from the British Ministry of Forest that show the company took them more than 40,000 tons of wood from what's called old growth in some of those areas. Old growth is one of the oldest growths in the area. That's why they call it old growth. But anyway, okay, so I had no idea they were doing that. That's brilliant. Another one I wanted to touch on is a man has pleaded guilty to an eagle killing spree. Washington State. A man accused of helping to kill more than 3,000 birds, including eagles, on a Montana Indian reservation and selling their carcasses and feathers and things like that. Now, they prosecute him for that. But when wind turbines knock down a similar number of birds every single year, well, they're not prosecuted for anything, are they? Oh, we'll have to take a look at that more on Friday. So hang on, we got some news coming up. I-80 John in Granite Canyon. I heat with wood pellets made from sawdust. See? You're into sustainable energy there. That's renewable, John. That's renewable energy. It's Wake Up Wyoming. calories.
Local and mobile across Wyoming and beyond with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
Time's 9:36. It's Wake Up Wyoming. All right, so I just want to finish that story, and I might touch it on again tomorrow because I think this is a really interesting story. But you can interrupt me, 888-97 Woods. A Washington state man accused of helping to kill more than 3,000 birds, including eagles, on a Montana Indian reservation, then illegally selling their carcasses and feathers, intends to plead guilty to illegal wildlife trafficking and other criminal charges, including, well, I mean, he's not supposed to be killing any of these birds, but some of these birds are also endangered. Federal prosecutor says he and others killed all total, probably about 3,600 birds during a year-long killing spree on the Flathead Indian Reservation and other places. Feathers and other parts of the eagles and other birds are highly prized among many Native American tribes, the story says, and used for, well, all sorts of ceremonies and so on. Branson Creek, Washington, they'll plead guilty under an agreement with prosecutors to reduce charges, including conspiracy, wildlife trafficking, 2 counts of unlawful trafficking of eagles, according to a court document filed on Tuesday. And the document did not detail how many birds he will admit to killing. But they're estimating within about a year they killed about 3,600 birds. Okay. Again, this is where I had said yesterday, well, in fact, even just in the last segment that I did, these birds are nothing compared to how much wind turbines kill in birds and bats every single year. So if we're going to go after these guys, this guy and the other one, then why not the rest? Now, why not the wind turbines? I don't see why not. Remember, Casper, Wyoming, the wind farm outside of Casper, was the first wind farm in the country to be cited for killing a golden eagle. And it was the Obama administration, shortly after that happened, realized this would put the wind industry out of business. So they gave wind farms a pass, a permit to kill so many birds every single year. Yeah, is that really the answer here? You kill a lot of birds and bats, so we're going to give you a permit to do so you can continue existing? But these guys who went and killed a bunch of birds, they're all in big trouble.
Is home to hundreds of bird species. They hunt and play in the midst of 3,000 wind turbines. Those turbines can be deadly, especially to golden eagles.
It's got white in its tail, which means it's a subadult or a younger bird.
35 golden eagles were killed by the Altamont's turbines in 2013. That appears to be what happened to this young eagle. All of the turbines in this wind farm, about 300 in total, have been turned off in preparation for repowering. They'll be replaced by just 10 turbines. Scientists believe fewer turbines and better placement are key to protecting wildlife.
He can no longer fly, but 14-year-old Solomon is one of the lucky ones.
His left wing was clipped off at the wrist by one of the windmills.
Solomon survived a hit at the U.S. wind power industry's deadliest location, California's Altamont Pass, where as many as 70 golden eagles are killed yearly. Clusters of turbines as tall as 30-story buildings with spinning rotors the size of jetliners pose problems for eagles.
Dozens of birdwatchers who had traveled to the northern Scottish island of Harris to see a rare bird when they witnessed it fly into a wind turbine and die late Wednesday afternoon. The white-throated needletail, the world's fastest flying bird, was first spotted by 2 Northumberland birdwatchers on Monday. By Wednesday, almost 40 twitchers had turned out to watch the bird. Amateur and expert ornithologists alike relished the sight. The bird flew directly into one of the blades of a nearby wind turbine. It is believed to have died instantly. There have been only 8 recorded sightings of the white-throated needletail in the UK in nearly 170 years.
Altamont Pass near Livermore may seem desolate, but it's home to a large population of raptors or birds of prey. Here, nature's power has been harnessed.
The predominant wind resource here in the Altamont is from the west, and that's why all these turbines are set up here at the end of some of these ridges.
In the early 1980s, when a slew of private companies built the Altamont's wind farms, they were viewed as an exciting alternative to nuclear power.
I think at one point there were nearly 8,000 windmills here.
It's been a costly oversight. As many as 1,300 birds of prey die each year in collisions with the Altamont's 5,400 turbines. Also hard hit are burrowing owls. Each year, the turbines at Altamont kill one.
Okay, you see how this is going? You get the idea. Okay. One minor, and this is just a really simple minor thing. It's not a big deal, but somebody pointed this out to me, and I thought, correct. Absolutely correct. There was only one person in there who called these things correctly, a wind turbine, not a turbine. Now, there's a subtle difference in the word, right? I'm being picky, I know. A turban is a headdress you wear on your head. That's what a turban is. If you go to India, you will see people wearing a turban on their head. A turbine is a type of an engine, like a wind turbine, or there's a jet turbine for airplanes, for example. So that's a turbine. So these are wind turbines, not wind turbines. Although it would be funny to see a bunch of tall poles with turbines on the top rather than turbines. I think that would be a lot more amusing and certainly kill a whole lot fewer birds.
You mind if we ask you a quick question?
Sure, go ahead. What you got?
We're doing a survey and we're asking people, what would you do if somebody broke into your house with the intentions to rob and harm your family?
Oh, I'd call 811.
811? You mean 911?
No, 811, because I'm going to need to know where to dig a hole.
So many opinions, we had to build the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app to hold them all. Free download from AM 1030 K2 Radio.
9:48 your time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to the Ford Center where Frank Gambino is waiting by. How's it look over there, Frank?
You know what? This is the first game. It starts at 9 in the morning between the Burlington girls and the Rock River girls. I will bet you that none of these girls have played a basketball game starting at 9 in the morning all year, and maybe not even their lives.
Okay.
So you never really know what happens with these 9 a.m. games, you know? Like, are we awake or are we asleep? Same thing with the games that have started 9 p.m. I mean, these teams have been here all day. And then they finally play at 9 o'clock. Like, okay.
Is anybody out there yawning?
No, I have not seen anybody yawn.
Okay,
now,
okay.
Burlington's quite a hike from here, so I mean, if those fans, they better be watching this. You know, in Rock River, it's between Medicine Bow and Laramie, so that's still a hike too. I mean, yes, they are watching and they're not sleeping.
Okay, because I'm wondering. I mean, that if you're going to take such a long drive to get here and do this, you probably want to nap on the road if you can.
Unless you're driving.
No, well, the driver can't. But what about all the players?
Yeah,
they can go ahead and nap.
They got here yesterday,
Yeah,
easily.
okay, so they had plenty of time to get some sleep here. Then I got to wonder, do they do coffee? Probably at that age, energy drinks. There's probably lots of energy drinks going, right?
Oh, too much. Too much.
So you might get an interesting game out of it. Because I know, there's those basketball hoops in Miss Mary's office, and when I get here first thing in the morning, there's absolutely no way. But after I've been here for a while, I can make some hoops.
Yeah, you got to warm up, and get your senses with you. Drink some of that high-dollar coffee you make.
Okay, yeah, all right. Which it sounds to me like the caffeine has finally hit you, so you'll do okay.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, you've been here for a while.
Yeah,
okay.
Coffee's good, so is Pop.
What do the coaches look like? Are the coaches looking like they're going to pass out?
Yeah, they're with it, They've been yelling, so their vocal cords are in good shape.
Okay, because they got to scream at the kids.
Yeah. And the referees.
I'm sure. Okay. Well, I guess we're going to get, you'll be able to go ahead and see if there's a difference between the people who play first thing in the morning and the people who play later.
Yes, I will. And I'm guessing that the people by 9 o'clock, they're ready for basketball. They've been waiting all day. They'll be loud.
Right. Well, what's nice is if you get your game over early, then you get to enjoy the rest of the day. As opposed to someone has their game in the middle of the day, that just kind of screws everything up.
Yeah, you can't spend all day at the mall. You certainly can't. Well, we have a 4A East Regional High School basketball starting this morning, and that 4A East Regional is in Sheridan. Cheyenne Central taking on Thunder Basin right now. Cheyenne South will play Campbell County at 10:30. Cheyenne East at 21-2 plays Detroit at 3:30, and then Sheridan will play Laramie at 5:30 on the girls' side. Then on the boys' side at noon, Cheyenne Central at 20-2 on the year meets Campbell County at noon. East and Natrona at 1:30. South and Sheridan at 6:30, and Laramie at 17-3 will play at 8 o'clock. At 4A West Regional, Kelly Walsh will play Green River, and girls play at 4:30. And on the boys' side, Kelly Walsh will play Star Valley at noon. In the 3A East Regional for the girls, Glenrock playing right now against Torrington, and the Glenrock boys will play Rawlins at noon in that regional in Rawlins. Now, the state 1A and 2A basketball tournament underway as we speak. Here at the Ford Center, it's Burlington at 22-6 taking on Rock River, and Burlington is leading 41-19. The next game here will be Upton at 22-2 taking on Riverside, followed by Southeast and Little Snake River at 4:30, and then Cokeville at 21-1 will take on Hewitt. On the boys' side of 1A here at the Ford Center, Saratoga and Southeast at noon. KC will take on Cokeville at 1:30. Cokeville is 20-2 on the year. Carson, Eden, and Guernsey Sunrise at 7:30, and Upton at 24-1 will meet Matisse at 9 p.m. The 2A games over Casper College for the girls starting right now, or underway right now. Kemmerer and Pine Bluffs. Tongue River will play Rocky Mountain at 10:30. Tongue River's 21-3. Lingo Fort, Laramie, and Wind River at 4:30, and then Burns, the defending champions, against Wyoming Indian at 6 p.m. and Wyoming Indian at 22-2. And on the boys' side, Tongue River 20-4 will play Big Piney at noon over at the college. Wyoming Indian at 21-6 at 1:30 versus Pine Bluffs. Grable at 12-13 against Lusk, 18-7 at 7:30. In the late game over at the college, we have Wright at 22-5 meeting Kemmerer at 8-16. The semifinals of the state 1A and 2A tournament will be tomorrow, and the finals will be on Saturday here at the Ford Center, and that's it. Sports.
So I would expect tomorrow to get a full report on the snackage situation.
Well, I've already started. I had a muffin, chocolate chip muffin.
Yeah.
And then they'll have lunch later on today, and then they'll have dinner today. So I've got that covered. I mean, I'm a professional hospitality room participant.
The rest of the morning crew here at Town Square Media would not be opposed to you stealing some of that and bringing it in for us tomorrow.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Muffin or two.
Why don't you just let me see what I can do about that. You know, no guarantees.
Okay, next time you go to an event like this, I'm going to bring a plastic bag so you can just go in there and load it up for us. Thank you, Frank. Have a good time. So coming up on some local business, well, you take advantage of what's there, you know. And then we got news time after that, national local update on the weather forecast. Tomorrow is Friday, so please make sure tomorrow to get ready to get it all out of your system because there's going to be open phones all the way through. Let's Wake Up Wyoming.